Hey knitters, this is Cheryl Beckridge, and welcome to my first Fibercast. I stole the name from my friend Carissa Lowe, who's Sweet Mountain Crafts, and imitation is the best form of flattery. And so, hope you don't mind that I'm using your name, but I'm working on knitting and sewing and quilting and all kinds of fiber-related things. So I wanted to call it a Fibercast rather than a podcast. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay, this is what I've been working on lately. First of all, this is just a project bag that I made and I use a lot. It's a good size for me. Drawstring. I will probably be making some more of these. The first thing I'm working on are the God's Promise socks that are out of opal sock yarn. Got from Anna Knitter, and this is her pattern. So I'm making these as a Christmas gift for a young lady. And I was on a weekend trip last weekend to visit my son down in Texas, and I always take socks with me when I'm traveling just because they're small and you should straighten this up a little bit. They don't take up a lot of space when you're on the plane, easy to fit in your carry-on, and it always amazes people. I had this one man who was talking the entire trip, and he was driving both my husband and I crazy, and at the very end he goes, "What are you doing, knitting?" He goes, "Does anybody still do that?" I'm like, yeah, all the cool people knit. So I felt like I put him in his place, but probably not. So we've got the God's Promise socks. Again, opal sock yarn. I think it's the Cats and Dogs collection in green, which you'll notice is my favorite. Got my green shamrock cardigan on. I've got a green bag that I made behind me, and you'll see lots of green yarn. Next thing that I'm working on is a Bybri hat, and I started this at the Knitty McPurley retreat using a variegated or kind of a gradient yarn from Skeins. It's called Pulse for the color that's the dominant color, and just a blue for the background color. And I need to take this into work with me for the times where I don't have a lot to do, because I haven't made much progress on this lately. And today I was sitting there at work thinking, I should be, if I don't have anything else to do, I should at least be knitting. So those will go with me to work, and maybe this will be a finished object next week. I'm gonna, I guess, use some latitude on my, those are not works in progress, those are finished objects. Another thing that I've been working on is a baby quilt. That's the adult version, and the baby version is the smaller version. So I've got all of that done except for the rabbit and the deer. And I don't know why, but I've been procrastinating on those just because they have lots of parts. But I have a whole bunch of trees of different sizes. Here's another one. And here's the bear. He's pretty darn cute. My niece, Jean, and her husband, Patrick, are having a baby. And it's kind of their decorating their nursery and woodland animals. So this will be for them. Another thing that I'm working on, and I don't have a picture of it, so I will hold off on that. I'm working on a wedding quilt for my son and his fiance. So I need to get started. They get married in September, so I have a little while, but how you can procrastinate on things, and then all of a sudden you're under the wire. The only other thing that I have is Cindy's blanket. And I'm going to show that a little bit later because it's a part of another part of my podcast, or my Fibercast, that I'm going to get to later on. My finished items. You may have noticed that I changed my lighting. I had the overhead light on and it felt like it was just kind of way too bright. So we're learning as we go. Anyway, the things that I have finished, I've got kind of a wide range because this is my first podcast. So I've got some stuff backed up. And the first thing is this tunic that I'm wearing. I'm going to try and get back a little bit further so you can maybe see the whole thing. It is called the Studio Tunic, and it is from a company called So Liberated. I bought the pattern last year, and my husband works for a construction company. They're a contractor. He's an electrical contractor, but they've got these great big plotters at work. So I bought the pattern. It was a PDF, and I really didn't want to tape all the pieces together. That was the first sewing pattern that I had really, I think I've purchased some other ones, but that was the first one I ever actually got to start sewing on. So I had him print it out, and then it took me another couple months after that to actually buy some fabric and jump right in. And I'm really glad that I did it. I love this garment. It's comfortable to wear. It's got great big pockets. Does take some ironing, so that's probably the only thing that I'm not in love with. But you know, it's kind of it's a linen blend fabric, which it's going to get wrinkly, so that's just part of life. So that's the first thing that I've finished. I have also finished a hat, the scrunch hat, and this is a pattern that I really did a long time ago, but I kind of did a reboot of it. A lot of my patterns were first published under Cheryl Beckridge Knits, and a couple of years ago I changed the name to Wise Owl Knits. So I'm redoing some of my more popular patterns, or patterns that I like the best, under the new name of Wise Owl Knits. So the scrunch hat was that. The yarn I got at the Knitting McPurley retreat, it was in the swag bag, and it is a DK. Actually, I think it was a worsted weight yarn, but you could use worsted or DK for this. Again, this is the scrunch hat. One skein yarn. Then this is the light summer tee, and what I wanted with this pattern and this garment, because it's something that I wear a lot, and you can tell I kind of like this, the blue also, the aquas. Anyway, the light summer tee is a pattern that I designed late last summer, really almost into the winter, and I've knit myself a couple of them. I used to wear more fitted things, and now I'm actually smaller, and I like things that are looser better. I just feel more comfortable in them. If I wear something, like even if I wear yoga pants, which are really stretchy and not too tight, by the end of the day, I start to feel constricted by them. So I'm wearing more looser fitting clothes. And the light summer tee fits that bill. Now, what yarn did I use for this? Oh, this is, sorry, that's blurry. Chicken Lady Fiber Arts, and the color is teal, like apostrophe C, which means something about some kind of TV character or movie character, but I don't know who it was. So anyway, that is that. I'm going to turn this off and turn it back on and see if it will not be blurry. I think I just must have moved. Okay, I am back. Next on my list is my Latari shawl, which was the Lent shawl from last year. And I was partially finished with it before the Knitting McPurley retreat and worked on it at the retreat. I was in the kind of the end sections, which were garter stitch, so good retreat knitting, good social knitting. Love this shawl. I was not sure if I was going to like all of the colors, but I really adore it. It is, having a hard time putting it on, but extremely wearable with a lot of different things. And I always get compliments on it. I wore it this year at Easter, and I wore it on Latari Sunday. When I go to Mass, I work for the church, and I have been filming Mass since the beginning of the pandemic, and now that everything's over, I thought I would be done, but no, we're still doing it. And we've got lots of people that still watch that are shut-ins, and I'm going to be there anyway. I might as well still film it. So I wore this. I was in front of the church, and everybody got to see it, and I got lots of compliments on it. Love that. You can see Barley. He's my yellow lab. He's such a good dog. Aren't you, Barley? Sit. There. He's the laziest dog ever. But that's a good thing for a dog. So that's Barley and the Latari shawl. You can also see I'm wearing can't remember exactly what it's called, but the happy necklace, the smiling necklace, that is a stitch marker necklace, also from Knitting McPurley. The other thing that I've been working on is a whole bunch of project bags. So here's one. It's got owls on it for Wise Owl Knits. I want to make some that maybe aren't drawstring, but some that have owls on them, like maybe a applique quilted owl. That's my idea. So I'd like to do some of those at some point. And then the other thing that I finished is my American flag quilt. Have no idea who designed this pattern. I don't know quilt designers as well as I know knit designers, but I'm so happy with how it turned out, and it took me a while to do it. The first time I sewed it together, I stretched out the sashing, and just wasn't right, so I ended up taking it apart, which was kind of a pain, but I'm glad that I did because I'm really happy with the way it turned out. It's 3 flags wide. Oh, here I am, blurry again. Okay, there we go. I think I just can't move too fast. Slowly fold it up, and I'll put it over the chair. So those are the things that I finished. I probably won't have nearly as many of those in later podcasts because I'm just not all that quick sometimes. But I have fun. Okay. Get myself organized here. Here are the designs that I'm working on right now. Finished the knitting on this. Been trying to figure out a name, and I really wanted to name this sweater Trinity, but there were a lot of sweaters and other knitted items, knitted patterns with the name Trinity. So I am calling this Trinitrio. So it's kind of a combo name between Trinity and Trio. And everything in the pattern is in threes, like three little lobes on this design, a triangle, the shamrocks, of course, with three leaves, another triangle down here, a right triangle, and then the orange is a series of vertical lines that are in series of three also. The bottom also has some color work, and there's three lines and then a corrugated ribbing on the bottom. Just finished the pattern writing and sent it off to my tech editor, Amy, a couple of days ago. So she's got that, and hopefully in the next week or so, I will get that back and get all the corrections made, and we'll be ready for test knitters. I've got a good list of test knitters, but if any of you are interested in test knitting, just send me an email at cheryl@wiseowlknits.com or message me on my website, and I will add you to the list. So when I'm ready for testers, I'll send out a notice to everybody. And then just because you volunteer now to be on the list does in no way obligate you to test for me. I'll send it out if it looks like something that you want to do and you have time to do it. Then I'm happy to have you test. I like to have a variety of different testers, some with a lot of experience, some with not very much. Obviously, different sizes is a good thing too. So if you'd like to be on that list, just let me know and I will add you to the list. So anyway, that's the Trinitrio. And then I've got a couple other things. One is another colorwork sweater. This is DK weight. I've got another colorwork sweater that will be more t-shirt like. That'll be in fingering weight. So I'm just working on the drawings on that right now, so I don't have too much to show you, but hopefully I'll get started on the knitting before the next podcast and I can show you a little sneak peek of that. The other thing that I'm doing has cables, which, you know, that's my kind of go-to thing. I don't know the name of this one yet, but it is going to be a poncho that has a collar on it, and it will have some buttons, but the buttons are just going to be decorative. So this is the stitch pattern. The collar will be in this portion here that's kind of cut out. That's really a neckline there. But this is the basic stitch pattern. It's got the interlacing cables on the side, this cable, and then the center motif, which this center motif I've used a bit on some hats lately. I didn't show those hats. Well, I'll show those the next time. So those are some finished objects that are pretty new too. So those are my 3 designs in progress for right now. The last section of my Fibercast is called Some Good News. And I wanted to do this either a nice story or a joke or something fun, because there's all kinds of crazy bad things going on in this world, and I don't want this Fibercast to dwell on those things. We're going to dwell on things that are a little bit happier here. There is a new organization, and it is called the Loose Ends Project, and it's based in Washington State, and it is a group of people that have developed a website that can hook knitters, crocheters, cross-stitchers, sewists up with other people who had started a project and for some reason are unable to finish it. due to severe illness or the death of the creator. And oftentimes, well, most times, these projects were meant as gifts for other people, and their family would like to still have the recipient get that gift, but none of them have the wherewithal to finish it. Many of you, I mean, it's a great idea, and something that probably has gone on for a long time. Anyway, I know I've finished several projects for people that have passed and given the items to their loved ones. I did it a couple times years ago when I worked at a yarn store, and I recently did it for a friend of mine that I taught to knit. Her name was Cindy, and when I taught her to knit, we were more like acquaintances, but then we ended up working together at the church, and she became a good friend. Used to come to my knit nights, and our offices were right next to each other. She unfortunately died a year ago Christmas, but she had two projects that she was in the middle of, both knitting projects. One was a sweater that I had designed that she was making for her daughter, her grown daughter, and the other was a blanket that was squares that she was working on for her daughter-in-law. So I took both the projects from her husband and told him I didn't know how long it would take me to get them done, because obviously I've got a lot of other things going on, and I wanted his expectations to be that I would be slow, because I was. So I finished the sweater just before Thanksgiving, and he was able to take that down to Cindy's daughter in Tennessee, and she got that project, and he told me that she really loves it, which warms my heart. And now I'm working on the blanket for her daughter-in-law. So this is the other work in progress that I was talking about. Cindy had made most of these squares, and she's got 8 or 9 done, and I'd like to get to maybe 16 or 20, maybe 24 even, so I can sew these together for a blanket for her and continue the legacy that Cindy started with this project. So I just think it's a wonderful thing. It's something that probably many of us do anyway with different people that we know. But I think the Loose Ends Project is a nice way to match people up who might not otherwise know a lot of knitters or crocheters or whatever the project is. But it's a nice way to match people that want to help with the people that need the help. So that's my some good news for today. Thank you all so much for watching. First Fibercast. I did kind of a really, really short one last week, but hopefully I can lengthen them out a little bit. I'm kind of shooting for about half an hour, so we'll see what happens. Thank you so much, and happy knitting to all of you. Bye.